In this trucking video, we're going to talk about what personal traits does it take to become a truck driver in 2023 and of course moving forward in 2024. And one of the first traits that you have to have as a truck driver is the physical and mental capacity. Now, we don't have to be in the most greatest shape, such as like an athlete or a bodybuilder. We're not talking about that kind of level of physical capacity, but we have to have enough to be able to maintain what it takes on the road. And it does take a lot out of you driving for hours and hours. And you have to have that stamina to be able to get through your days. And of course, that takes time, that takes practice, just like with anything else. A truck driver develops these mental and physical capacities through time. Another trait to consider as a truck driver is, do we have the ability to feel loss of control, but at the same time stay in control because of other aggressive drivers? And I like to call this trait calmness. When you're out on the road and there are aggressive drivers and even road rage because that driver may be impatient, they're trying to get somewhere on time, or they may not be having a good day. We don't know the mindset of that driver. But if we have this personal distinguishing quality to be able to stay in control when you feel that you are not in control, then that is a great trait to have, because it now will bring us to our next trait of patience. When you think about being able to be patient in traffic, that's very important because it can ruin your whole day. Once you hit some traffic as a truck driver, you can be waiting for hours. And sometimes I see truck drivers just pull over and wait till all the mess and chaos passes. And so having patience in traffic is another good trait. And sometimes we're going to get lost as truck drivers, and we do follow the GPS, I know, and sometimes that GPS is not always going to take us to the right place. We may turn into a parking lot where it's meant for employees and just small cars, and we get in there and then we are in a mess trying to make a U-turn and get out of there because the GPS took us to that location. And you may relate to this as a truck driver, that it does take patience and of course pre-planning properly to make sure that we are entering into the right place at the shipping and receiving departments. Another thing that we might deal with in the trucking industry, and to continue the trait of patience, is dealing with rude customers. And you know those customers where you walk in, they don't greet you, they don't look at you, they don't smile, and they may even make some rude comments to you, wait outside, or we'll call you. And you know that feeling that I'm talking about with some of those customers as truck drivers. And that can take some patience because, you are also there to service the customer. You're trying to do your best as a truck driver to be on time. They don't know what you went through for the day. Maybe you hit some traffic, some bad weather. Maybe you even had a breakdown. They don't know exactly what goes on in the life of a truck driver. So having patience in traffic, maybe getting lost, and dealing with rude customers is definitely a trait that you need to have. Now, having to maybe pull over to use the restroom, is sometimes difficult, and that could take some patience. But of course, we could have all the patience in the world, but we don't want to treat our bodies in an unhealthy way where we are just having to go to the restroom and we're just holding it for hours. That's not good for the body, obviously. But, it does take a certain mindset too, to be able to plan your route and make sure that you have the proper facilities and restroom breaks throughout your drive. So we have the traits of having the physical and mental capacity to be a truck driver, the ability to stay in control when you feel out of control or loss of control, and be impatient. But before we get to the fourth trait that I believe that we should have as a truck driver, if you're new coming into the trucking industry, or if you're thinking about coming into the trucking industry and so far you're getting some value out of this video, make sure to subscribe to Survivoneers and hit that like button and to help others also find this information so that we can grow together. The fourth trait that I'd like to share, and I believe to be one of the most important, is integrity, because in the trucking industry, you're not going to necessarily have someone calling you all the time. You're not necessarily going to have safety on you all the time, or someone down your neck and micromanaging you. Now, if you're in a company like this, I know that that can be frustrating because you want to build trust with the company. You want to prove to them that you can do the job. And sometimes you do not need that kind of micromanagement, especially if you are an experienced driver. But if you're coming in new, that can be understandable. They may be just trying to make sure you are safe and doing the right thing. But generally speaking, integrity comes in handy because there are going to be times where you have to clean a trailer after an unload and there's debris. There may be some sand, or depending on the product that you were delivering, and you now have the opportunity to clean out that trailer or take it to the next shipper where you can get the next load in there. You can take that chance that they will load you even if the trailer is dirty. But in most of the time, integrity is to clean the trailer. And this way you will not lose time later. If they do tell you, you do have to clean out the trailer, we're not going to load you unless this trailer is clean. And now you have lost time. And now you're behind on your miles. And sometimes if you're running reefer, that could take even longer, going to a washout, to a truck stop where there could be a long truck line. And now you're trying to have to wait in line to get that trailer clean. And so this is very important, integrity, cleaning those trailers. Even if no one's going to tell you to do it, the best thing to do is to get it done. As truck drivers, you also have an opportunity to put load locks on your loads, even if nobody's watching. Sometimes when you go to a shipper, you can just close the door when they're done and put the seal. Nobody checks that. But you get down the road where it's very rough, and then now it's shaking and moving the whole load. And so when you go to deliver, there's a pallet that has tipped over, and now that has ruined your day because it's going to take even more time to fix that pallet. And all you had to do was put a load lock, even if you knew you didn't have to use one. And so integrity, very important. How about truck parking? And sometimes when we have a long day and we're just trying to rest for the night and we come up to a truck stop and there's no parking. I can remember one time that there was about 50 reserves available showing on the Pilot app, and not one was open. And so I had to talk to the manager. They actually got the security guy to come out and start telling those truck drivers to move because they didn't pay for reserve parking. And that's a huge one, because if you're a truck driver and you had a long day and all you want to do is park and eat, shower, and rest, and then you find and come up to a truck stop where there's no parking, it's late in the night or you're just tired, and now you have to waste even more time. And this can be avoided as truck drivers if we just do the right thing. I know sometimes during the day that you park in a reserve spot for maybe an hour or two, and you're just going to maybe eat and shower and be done and leave. But we are talking about those times overnight. It makes it harder for other truck drivers when we don't use integrity to pay for that reserve spot. So let's help each other out there concerning that. Sometimes integrity comes into play when you see a sign, no trucks, or when you see a sign, no truck parking, but we feel tired and we just want to park, and then we park in that area where we're not supposed to, and then we get that knock on the door in the middle of the night when we're trying to rest, and then now we really have to move because it's probably maybe security or even law enforcement saying, you can't park here. And I know we take risks sometimes as truck drivers, and we do not have a parking sometimes, and we take that risk. But overall, integrity, proper planning is going to avoid situations like this. And especially going down a route where there are no trucks allowed can make that day even more stressful. So let's be careful with that to use integrity. Another trait that it takes to be a professional truck driver in 2023 and upcoming 2024 is emotional strength. Now, it depends on what kind of route that you choose to be in, whether that's over the road or maybe even regional. This does not pertain to local drivers because they're possibly home every day or every other day. But I'm talking about having the emotional strength to be away from home, from your loved ones, whether that is your wife, your girlfriend, or a partner, or someone that you are close to and you have developed a bond and connection with them, and you're out on the road for 2-3 weeks and you're missing those events and those birthdays and anniversaries and so on. You have to have the emotional strength to be able to combat this situation, because it can tear you down over time. And maybe you have been over the road more than 6 months to a year in the position, and you have this pattern of being away from home, and that can really tear at your mind. So it is important to have this personal trait, this distinguishing quality as a truck driver, to be able to have emotional strength. Let's take now a moment to summarize what we have brought forth as personal traits needed to become a truck driver. We must have the physical and mental capacity for those long times on the road, and to make sure that we exercise, eat right, and take care of ourselves to do the job correctly. We have to have the ability to feel loss of control when others are taking advantage of us, and we have to be on the defensive, not on the offensive. We have to have patience for those trying times in traffic or getting lost, and even dealing with rude customers and people. We have to have, most importantly, integrity, doing the right thing when nobody's watching. And that takes practice. That takes time to develop that characteristic, especially in trucking when no one is really going to be hounding you every moment. And fifth, we have to have emotional strength. Emotional strength is having the ability to train your mind and your body to stay strong when you are away from your family, when you are having stressful days and weeks as truck drivers. All that can eat at your psyche and really begin to tear you down if we don't, as we have said earlier, combat this properly. I want to take this time to thank every truck driver out there that is making a sacrifice, being away from home and doing the job properly, using integrity and patience. Thank you, especially if you have been in the industry for more than 10, 15, 20 or more years. We really appreciate the example that y'all are setting and the positive sacrifice that you make as a truck driver. If you like discussion videos in the trucking industry, be sure to subscribe to Survivor's Truck Talk, where I talk about things related to the trucking industry. If you want to check out my other video of one question to ask a recruiter, if you're new to the trucking industry, be sure to watch the video that is on the screen now. And this way you can take a different angle or look at a different angle of what we need to be asking recruiters when we are trying to find a good trucking job.